Ready for the mosh pit, Shaka Bra.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the tortured StrangeCast department. Yes.
Yes.
This is the anthology edition as well. No, we've had a long we've had a long conversation about that.
40
so
tracks in this one.
Yes. But no, we are actually not 40 tracks. We are on episode 69. We have officially hit that milestone. Yes, this is episodes. Well, the Panetta episode is 2 parts, but I always consider that as one. But it's always this is officially episode 69. So yes, we are at that landmark of an episode. So thank you for joining us for as long as you have done. As always, if you are new here, and I hate saying this, but if you are new here as well on YouTube, please do consider dropping subscribe on the channel. Turn notifications, like the video, share with your friends, helps you support our channel, helps you keep up to date with the content on the channel. And StrangeCast is available on all podcast services. So we're available on Apple Podcasts, we're available on Spotify, we're available on everything. So thank you for that. And also all the people who subscribe on Spotify, thank you as well. We have over 180 followers now. And on Apple Podcasts as well, if you can leave us a rating, please do. We only have 2, so it'd be greatly appreciated. And same with Spotify, we have 16, which again, we're very appreciative of. But if you can rate us, if you haven't already, really appreciate it. And also just a reminder as well that the second episode of the Lost Records Journal, our sister podcast, is now available on all podcast services and available on YouTube. So do go and check that out. So we've had really good feedback on that. And also as well, go and please do subscribe to those RSS feeds so you can keep up to date with the episodes as they come out. So do go and check that out. So thank you. We're feeling a lot better compared to the last episode. So we can start with this as well. And I think we'll kick things off.
I'm Adam, by the way, the other co-host.
Didn't I introduce you?
You did not.
Oh no! No! Oh no!
How rude and not unposh as you are, Brit.
I'm unconvinced that I haven't said. I'm sure I said that. 60.
Well,
I've done 60 episodes saying that. Introducing.
Well, now you can. Yeah, you have the footage to look back on.
Well, I can't wait for you to release your statement after this episode. Be like, I'm done with StrangeCast. And I'm like, and
with
like, why is he
teabag stains on it, like just.
I put a Spotify strip underneath it that links to Casting Garden. I'm now leaving StrangeCast to pursue Casting Garden.
With
like, why is he left
on it?
Just like watch episode 69 of StrangeCast the first 5 minutes. But yes, this is Adam, by the way, our lovely co-host as well. Just to kind of get that put in there.
Yeah,
I've done that for 68 plus episodes. I can't believe I missed that out. I think it's because we introduced it. Well, as I said, this is a tortured StrangeCast
I'm very
episode
tortured right now. Yeah.
Fitting for the theme. But anyway, we're not going to feed you the Taylor Swift conversation. We've already done that for about 40 minutes off podcast.
Yeah.
Right. We don't have any news. We only have one piece of like teasing news. We've got a subtopic and then a main topic, and then we're done here as well. So I hope you do enjoy this. But we'll kick things off because we're speaking about Lost Records Journal, which again, you can go and check out. That's our sister podcast on Don't Nod Montreal's Lost Records universe. And speaking of which, our first piece of news and our kind of teasing topic is the have been active Adam Lost Records Twitter feed or X feed or whatever you want to call it, and they tweeted on the 18th of April saying, "Okay, who wants their names?" So I think this is the second time that they've done this or something. It seems like maybe we might get a reveal of the names before Summer Games Fest or before the next reveal of the major kind of gameplay expose or something.
Conspiracy theory?
Please do.
I think they put out this tweet because of this podcast. Because
why?
we're the only ones really talking about like we want names. Who are their names? And then Adnan's out here playing Sherlock Holmes, guessing names all the time. And we know Adnan is so very good at guessing names from pictures. You're about 50% from the field, I would say.
Yeah,
but
more so.
I'm thinking this is like a tease, someone out there is watching this show and it's saying you know what drive Adnan crazy is if just putting the little treat in front of you, oh, you want their names, Adnan? You want their names? You can't have their names. You stupid Brit. That's what they're saying.
That stupid Brit part was a bit personal. That is not poetry.
Well, I'm not the one that said it. They said it over there.
That is not poetry for the StrangeCast torture department. I've seen it. It's weird as well because I've seen 2 things from this post, which is obviously the Reddit page is always quite engaging. People are interested in it. Secondly, as well in the reply, people naming all different names. It's like they've already given you the names. It's like, they've told you it's Nora, Cat, Swan, Awesome. It's like people are giving different names, but that's also important because, as I said to you, marketing's a big push behind this game. Like, these aren't established characters. It's a fresh, brand new IP. It's never going to have the same, resonance that maybe Life is Strange or something else happens. You have to really, push for it. So it's like these are going to have to be things that they're going to keep feeding to make sure people vividly remember who each character is. But I just found it very cryptic, the tease of this. And I saw Luke had post it on his feeds and Michelle had teased it. I'm like, when they're active like that, it's always a sign that behavior is they're moving towards something. And it wouldn't surprise me again if we get the character reveal. We're in April now. We're moving quite forward into 2024. We've got a game that's coming out in 2024. So I did want to bring that up because I think it was just worth recognizing for that. I know that
I do think this is kind of a trend where we're going to see this at Gamescom or Xbox Showcase, whatever it is. It Gamescom?
Summer Games Fest?
No. Oh, well, one of the two. At least one of the two.
Summer Games Fest and Xbox Showcase are June. Gamescom's August. I wouldn't be surprised if they're at Gamescom. I think there will be a Gamescom.
Oh, maybe. They will be at Gamescom, but there's the two, the summer,
the Xbox Showcase and Summer Games Fest.
Yeah, it's going to be at one of those two because if they're teasing who wants their names and it's about a month away at this point, it's we're gonna get a reveal at one of the two.
We definitely talked about this, and we talked about this in the Lost Records Journal. So if you haven't listened to that, you can go and check that out because it's definitely on there. I've noticed as well, because obviously the actors all change their their posts and stuff when they say which characters they are. I think Olivia Lepore didn't change one of her posts because it's currently on Reddit again. People point out it's she's one of the posts that says meet. I think it says meet Swan or something, and people are going crazy for it again. I think I've kind of established which actor is playing which character, not necessarily which character is which character at the minute. But funnily enough as well, here's the thing as well. If you are excited for Lost Records Journal, have you actually gone listen to these actors, how they speak, by the way? It's always interesting to have before. Yeah, it's I only noticed this the last couple of days. I've been watching little clips with them in the acting reels and the interviews or whatever they've done in between it, just to kind of get a vibe. Because obviously we only hear one voice in the trailer. I assume that's Andrea Carter because we're talking about the character that's got the Void t-shirt on. So I would naturally assume that's Andrea Carter's voice, if anything. But I was listening to Olivia Lepore talk, and I'll say this now as well. Big Rachel Amber vibes.
Oh,
that's a big compliment. Yeah, big compliment. I'm giving the biggest compliment you'll ever hear, Olivia Lepore. I think if we had to revamp if Kylie Brown never existed, Rachel Amber there.
Yeah.
Got a very good voice for it, I think, personally speaking. Close your eyes, listen to it. I thought, good potential there. But yeah, I've been listening to some of the actors because I was thinking you only know them by name. Some people might know them by names, and it's kind of we've seen the characters, but only technically one character has spoken so far. So it was just interesting to hear what people actually sound like. And obviously the Nora Kelly band's music's in the trailer, but still nonetheless. I'm excited for this. I can't wait for them to reveal the characters. I think my last predictions were right. I think the one that I did in the predictions video, which you can go and check on the YouTube channel, I think I've got them now. I think I got them nailed for the four of them. So yeah. And I believe you gave me your predictions once as well in one of the videos of which characters which. So that's that. I think it was Nora on the left, Cat next to Nora, Swan, and then Autumn. I think I did it. I think it was that way.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
I think I had Cat and Swan differently, and then changed them around in the other video that I did. But I think I'm just trying to do this from sus work, if anything. I think that's the right way of they're going about it. But yeah, very excited though, nonetheless. And they're cryptically teasing as well. The person who's running this is really sassy in the replies, if you see as well, doing the replies to people. And I'm convinced it's Marin that's doing it because he's the brand manager. It's really sassy, some of the responses that they give to people.
Yeah, if anybody's sassy over there, it's going to be Marin.
Yes, it is. It is.
Yeah.
By the way, you saw my message, didn't you? The one that I sent you over Facebook. I was I got a good laugh out of that. Anyway, we will call that there because I don't think there's much else to talk about here. This is a mini topic in between it. It's the post-Deck 9 Square Enix.
Well, before we get to there, I also want to point out something special about this episode.
Oh?
Not only is this episode 69, what what date is the date that we're recording this?
The 20th of April.
420, baby. 420 episode 69, baby. Let's go.
There we go.
Get
That's
out your
big,
Xbox gamer tags, baby. Let's go.
We've hit every possible thing that we could do with the dates. Yeah, so we will move on to our main, our subtopic, if anything, which was that the post Nine Square Enix article reflection. So again, thank you to everyone who was commented on the last video. It's one of our more popular StrangeCast episodes in recent months. Obviously, as I said to Adam and Lost Records Journal, probably feel because of the bad news that it's kind of based around. Mm-hmm. But nonetheless, thank you for that, and also thank you for the comments as well, and then being respectful. That's all we really asked for, if anything, from people. So it's quite nice to have that. Like we said, we couldn't cover everything in that episode because there was so much. There was so much news to cover in that one article. But it's just kind of this is a little period of post-reflection I wanted to bring up, Adam, because I've seen little things. I know that the Life is Strange Twitter account, the first tweet it did since then, which was happy birthday to one of the Diaz brothers. I think it might have been Sean Diaz, or I can't remember which one it was. I'm not going to look it up in a minute, but it was one of the Diaz brothers, happy birthday to the Diaz brothers. It's oh, this is interesting for the first tweet then. And Deck Nine's Twitter feed has been going off a little bit. So they've been replying to certain people, not posting statuses, but they have been replying to people. And the Life is Strange TikTok account has always been going off as well. It's still actively commenting on people. So it's I think at this point it's a brush under the rug kind of situation of they're gonna let me just say this as well, right? Because people were saying in the episode that we recorded, and I came across and I said this to Adam and messaged him because I was very worried editing that episode. I said to him, I was do I come across as a very big sympathizer here? I was very cautious with it because my position is very neutral on almost everything. I'll have to stay neutral. I work in this line of field.
I was about to say, what is your line of work?
Yeah, I don't really mention
journalism.
It, funnily enough. I don't think I've mentioned it quite a lot, to be honest. I mentioned the fact that I reviewed Life is Strange episodes, etc. But in my main line of work, I never really mention it actively on the podcast. I think it would have to be you'd have to, probe at me and find out what I actually do a little bit to kind of see what I do. But I walked a very thin line with it because when I saw certain comments, it was I was kind of fair enough. I kind of get what you're saying with it. It's just that everything you have to take is with an ounce of salt. No matter how significantly bad it is. And again, I'm not defending. When I've started that, I'm not defending it. It's just it's finger pointing to the point where it's unless concrete proof appears, then it's still allegations at the end of the day. That's ultimately what it comes down to. So I've seen people say this in the sense that why is Deck not putting a statement out? Why is Square Enix not putting a statement out? Well, the moment you put a statement out is the moment you confirm said allegation, That's the unfortunate reality. Because it's for example, if I came out to be some Taylor Swift sympathizer or something like that, or a hater, and it was everyone came out for Adam, it's well, is he that kind of personality? The minute Adam says it is the minute he basically puts himself in the crossing line. Because
I'll be depends. Is there a jacket involved?
Yeah. get the Alex Chen jacket out. Get it out, son.
We have this half-eaten Hershey bar. I'm I'll spill whatever you want, man.
Yeah, he sold it. He sold. No, but it's you have to be thinking about it because it's they're not going to come out and say this is what's happened, and it's going to the quiet they can stay on it, and hopefully things don't blow up. It's kind of that's why they're taking this approach. But I've seen it before in journalism. I've seen the way people act with it. They're treading a very thin line. It's the same with when people are saying this employee at Deck Nine is the person that's been putting the Nazi imagery and stuff references in it. They're not going to come out and say it until they deal with it because probably the studio has been rocked internally. They're probably dealing with internal matters, if anything. And the minute you say this as well, then you're concreting. They have to go through a process of figuring out who's done what. Because I've seen, for example, there's stuff with Life is Strange before. So when people are starting picking through artwork and stuff, they've got one I think where it's an artwork of Nathan. He has the 88 shirt on. So he's number 88 on his football shirt. That is, and you'd find this in court as well. If you went to a case, I've done court reporting as well. That would be conjecture because they'd be unless you can definitively say that person's got their hand on the picture and you're seeing them draw it and say that that's 88 and they're doing this reference. It's until it's proven it's that. So it's for example, I saw people on Reddit, for example, saying if I'm born in 1988, my email might have 88 at the end of it, which is a common kind of occurrence. Because I think as well, one of those things that happened with the piece as well, the Deck Nine one, It's like when they were talking about the rune, and they were talking about like the reference of Nazi imagery and stuff like that. Most people think that they know the Nazis as if they know it like some historian level. Like I've studied it to enough like at a history level, at a degree level, but I didn't never study it at like historian level. We all have the simple basis of the Nazis and how bad it is, etc. But like there's so much like deep and difficult stuff to kind of go through. That's when you get inside the bulk of what the Nazis are, like especially more of like the horrific things you'll read about the war and like everything else in between it. Like I always say, people like when I read about history, like the stuff that happened on the Eastern Front of the Second World War is some of the most horrific things you'll ever read, both from the Nazis and the Russians as well. Like the stuff that has happened to German people because the Russians were taking revenge is like horrific. But it's like, again, it's like it's until it's proven. That's the unfortunate reality of it. So it's like I said this with I think one of the commenters might have said this as well. Like even for example with like Elizabeth Bow, Mallory Littleton have all put their profiles on lock. For example, I know that Elizabeth Bow is going back into the industry. She got a job apparently, which is quite like I thought that was quite massive as well. Because like when you speak out about a studio, like you're putting your livelihood on the line, because like even developers who come on, I've spoken to, etc., they'll never go on the record because they know that at that point you're like a walking red flag for them. They're not going to hire you. But it's like even still as well, you have to kind of put yourself in a position when I do journalism as well, and someone tells me something, I sit there sometimes wondering, what's your ulterior motive for this? Because like even if it sounds as horrific as you might think, because it's like someone's coming forward and saying it's allegation stuff, you still have to sit there thinking what that person's coming after for it. Because like at that point they might tell you something, then you have to go and corroborate it with like X sources. It's a lot of like it's as soon as someone points the finger, then you have to like corroborate it with like all these other things, and then it can come anything. You could say like, oh well, these people are disgruntled Deck 9 employees. It's like also as well, what would people say about these people as well? So what would people say about Elizabeth Bow and Tate and Mallory Littleton? Are they clean cutters like everyone else? Not suggesting that I've heard anything else. So I'm just saying, like, you have to paint all these different pictures. And that's what it happens to, because it happens with documentaries. I've seen it with allegations. There was one last year on Russell Brand that happened as well. It went very quiet after a little bit. Everyone's like, oh, look at him. He's like this, and that. Again, until it's proven, though, it's allegations. So it's like you get into that difficult thing. I've had it with my own sport. I'm a, for reference, I watch soccer, as you might call it, football fan.
Soccer.
Yep, soccer. There was a big interview last, like 2 years ago, with Cristiano Ronaldo, club legend. Did it with Piers Morgan. It was like a bombshell interview. There was allegations in there as well. And then at the same time, it's like Piers Morgan's not challenging the allegations. It's like, who is the president of Manchester United? There is no president of Manchester United. So it's like you have to follow through as a journalist. You're saying this guy's accusing, saying, "Oh, this thing happened to me," and the president of Manchester United said this. It's like, but there is no president of Manchester United. Can you tell me someone specifically? So it's like that's the thing with the piece. I've gone back through it. I've read it, and I brought this up with the Zach Garris thing as well.
So if I can interrupt,
yeah, please. I've been going on
for the listeners who are listening to this. Like, this is me defending Adnan. Unless you have a half-eaten Hershey bar, then the
Alex Chen jacket.
The Alex Chen jacket. Things might be a little bit different. But again, as Adnan's talking, and I know I know you. You want to come off as the best self. But I just want to come out and defending Adnan. Like, this is what his line of work is journalism, and good journalism. A good journalist is unbiased, no matter the situation. It's like me. I'm a line cook. That's what I do for a living. So like, whenever you watch Food Network shows, you're like, oh, this is really entertaining. But for food people, we're just like, this sucks. What are you doing? What are you like? That's not how. Which is why a lot of food people love the show The Bear, because that's what it's about. What I'm trying to say is that, like, as anybody who ever thought that Adnan was like defensive against, like, for Zach Garris, it's not that he's defensive. It's that he is a journalist. That's where his mind is always, is just unbiased. Well, let me think about the bigger picture. Whereas us normies who aren't journalists, we read articles like, yeah, let's get it, boys, pitchforks. But Adnan has a journalistic mindset. So keep that in mind. Yeah.
Like I that's why I wanted to kind of echo, because it's like I don't put someone to burnout's pasture no matter how bad it reads, because it's like I still need, there are other people agreeing, so it's like we need more proof. I'm like, you do, because it's like you still need like other things. I said it, for example, when we were talking that episode, we were talking about the car sequence. I said this as well. did like Rebecca Valentine corroborate what she said? Like, for example, with like Mallory Littleton, who are these people she went and spoke to? Who are their names? Can I go and speak to them just to see what they said? Because it's like, as I said, it's easy depending on which culture you live in. Because I live in the UK, for example, you live in the US. Most people I spoke to about that scene, I even read it out to them, like, can you tell me what you think about this? They didn't bat their eye. Then I was like, it's in the middle of the story. They're like, really? And it's like, there's more to it. Go and read the rest of the story. But I'm like, still, that scene feel like it was a bit out of place. Then at the same time, and I said this in the piece with other people who comment about it, I was like, but in the piece, there's no reference from Zach Garris about that. So it's like the way it's painted already, it's like you're painting him like a creep. And some in a situation where, for example, did you ask him Rebecca Valentine about that? Did you say it to him? What's his response? Because he might just be like, I was completely oblivious to that. I thought we were really deep in a conversation, really enjoying everything. And I didn't realize she was uncomfortable. I'm so sorry. Yeah. And again, like at that point as well, most people are like, oh, well, you've accepted the responsibility. And it's like, oh, clearly it was completely misunderstanding. Because if someone came up to me in that situation, for example, and said it to me, I'm not going to start, S-stirring things. I'm trying to like not swear because I'm trying to like keep it clean for editing purposes. But I'm not going to start S-stirring because I'm like, my response would be like, have you spoken to that person about it? Because like maybe the situation's just been read wrong a little bit. It's like, I'm not going to get involved in like, oh, they've got this malicious intent or they got this kind of intent. It's like there's more detail to it. Like people read social cues wrong all the time. Again, not defending his behavior, no stock value in Zach Garris, but it's like the way that the piece is interpreted. I'm just reading things like, that's interesting. Again, we've spoken to a lot of people. I've spoken to a lot of people about Zach Garris, and they're not what you see on the actual podcast, remember, as well, because I've spent a lot of time talking to people. I think like the last time I spoke to Kylie, for example, spoke to her an hour and a half of podcast. We were talking about all kinds of things in between it. You do like build relationships with people over time, and I've like spoken about these people off podcast. Again, they might have a completely different view of it, but again, then you have to question what people think about Mallory Littleton, Elizabeth Bow. Did they use their power in a different kind of way? People have different interpretations, but it's like that was where the piece was so difficult to concentrate in the podcast we were doing, because it's like we were doing that, and even when you said it as well, Adam's like, he's towing a line. I'm like, oh my god, Adam is about to like get grilled for like not taking a position on this. It's like, but no, it's like he was like just seeing it in
that
optics.
position of me saying he is towing a line is just like, bro, he's towing a line. Like, that's what. Here's the other thing. That's what dangerous people do. Dangerous people know where the line is. And they tow it so they don't look
smart,
dangerous
people.
Yeah, smart, dangerous people toe the line. If you don't believe me, watch that Nickelodeon documentary, Quiet on Set. That's all about people towing the line.
Yeah,
and they're smart about it. That's dangerous people. Am I saying Zach Garris is dangerous? Probably not. How I interpreted the article was that I've worked, so like you said, your piece, like digging yourself in your own hole. I'll dig myself in a hole.
Of course, I'll be here to defend you for that as well. We're both getting burnt out to pasture together.
I've worked with a lot of people are like Zach Garris. I've worked with a lot of those people. And to put it into context, I am registered Green Party. I'm not Republican. I'm not Democrat. I am very much Green Party. I'm here for the trees, which is why I always have my my nice little thermos over here, so I don't have to throw away waste. With that being said, whenever I hear these kinds of people here in the U.S., I think that they're more ignorant than they are malicious. And what I mean by that is that when Mallory was saying that, like, he was at the car and he wouldn't go away, I think that's ignorance. I think he doesn't know when a conversation ends and he just kind of stands there. When he was talking about trans rights, right? He was very ignorant of the fact of just like kind of like, and I'm not saying ignorant in a malicious tone. I'm just saying he was ignorant of trans rights. He doesn't know. He has existed in a world where, as a cis white straight, is cis and straight the same word? I forget.
No, cis is biological.
Okay, cis white straight male. He might have had a religious upbringing. I don't know that for a fact. But like with his stance, he has never had to face any kind of like road blockage in his life. That's coming from me as also a cis white straight male who grew up with a religious background. There's nothing in my life like when people talk about me like, oh, Adam, like at least you made it out of Philly. You know how I made it out of Philly? By really going on the cis white male. And that's why like I could pretend at jobs to not be hood. Like I could not be a hood rat because I'm like, oh, look at me. My name's Adam. Did I go through an identity crisis with me? That's for me and my therapist to talk about.
Yeah.
But what I am trying to say is that people like Zach Garris exist because they've never had roadblocks in life. They never faced racism. They've never faced like getting their own rights. Right?
Yeah.
Like Adnan, me and you have had separate conversations where people look at you and they say, oh, Arab. And you're not even Arab.
It's an Arab, they say, as I said. I've had that experience from people. I'm not even an Arab, by the way, as well. But as he said, like, I've had the same experience. I'm from South Asian thing. And if someone, for example, from a trans background looks at me, they might be a bit worried because, like, you know, in the walks of culture that I've seen from an Arab, from an Asian background as well, you know, trans people are vilified as well.
Yes.
So it's like for me as well, like for me to talk about it, you might even find, I think it'd be interesting for people's perceptions to come on here. It's like, with like the fact that, you know, Life is Strange is LGBTQ plus heavy gay, and then see like someone like from me, from my background, talk about it. You might actually like be like, that is interesting. It's like, what's happened there? Because like, again, that's the same situation as you said, painted with the Gareth situation, because I've met people where like, I've sat with them, talked to them, and it's like, they are so like anti-gay, for example, but then you find out that their parents like Jehovah's Witnesses, or they have like such a massive, deep upbringing, and it's like, and then it's like I'm sitting there with their partners, being like, I think there's a bit of a connection here, and like, what do you mean? I'm like, and you paint the picture, and they're like, oh,
there's a lot of like, there's people who, again, I have Jewish blood in me, and there's people out there ready to, let's put it cleanly, get me just because I have Jewish blood. And it's not because of their inherent hate for Jewish people. It's because they've had an upbringing to say that Jewish people are controlling the world, which then I look in my bank account. I'm like, what control? I forgot I had bags of gold. That's why I'm living paycheck to paycheck. My bad. Anyways, the point I'm trying to make is that, Adnan, at least you have like some semblance of understanding for people who are hurting, because whether or not you faced a lot of racism in your life, you've had racism in your life, right?
Yeah.
I've never, because as much as I say like I have Jewish blood, I don't look the part as some people say. Like I've had people say like, you don't look Jewish, and I say, what does that mean? What do you want me to do? You want me to have a long nose? You want me to have curly hair? Like, what are you trying to say, dude? Like, you don't look the part. I'm like, okay. But anyways, what I'm trying to say is that, like, yeah, people like Zach Harris, it's not that they're malicious. It's that they've never had that in their life. They've never had to face that kind of roadblock. Whereas you, Adnan, have in some sort of way. You know, whether that is malicious or not, you've had that. And that's why you can see like there's some problems, but like people like Zach Harris don't, you know.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, because even the Arab comment that I brought up as well, that was like me telling Adam in reference when I was seeing some American girl. She was saying like, you know, if you ever met my family, she's like, you know, they're a bit, and I'm like, go on, tell me, please. And I can see where it's going, like, well, they'll call you an Arab. I was like, that's just even more ironic, because it's like, I'm not actually an Arab, but it's like, but they see you that way. It's like, you know, like it's such a difference between Arab and Asian, but like as you will. But no, it's a very
Sikhs, you know, like the Sikh community. It's like
the Sikhs, the Arabs, the Asians, the South Asians. It's like, you know, Asian and South Asian is completely different interpretation. If you say it to people, it's like they have completely interpretations of what people think about it. The problem is it's just because like people wear their heart, you know, they have such high emotions in like stuff like this. So it's like, for example, like I've said this before, like you might say like, I stand here from neutral, but then you like love Don't Nod Montreal and you like speak all about this. I've said this repeatedly to you. Like there won't be a review episode on here, on this podcast, or this like channel about Lost Records of Bloom and Rage that isn't starting with, we are inherently biased about this game and biased about these people. You are now warned about it. It's like, I'm not going to say
we are the Swifties of the Don't Nod Montreal team.
Exactly. Yeah. What would you call that? Would it be the Bloomies? The Bloomies.
The Bloomies. I was
Yeah,
gonna
the
say
Bloomies.
I was gonna say the. I was gonna put like Michelle and Luke together. Michelle Lukey's. Michelle Lukey's.
Or the baggies. We could be the baggies.
I don't like that term. I don't like baggies.
But no, like that's a completely different thing. So like my hand is on my heart.
Better, yeah.
Well, let's go with Bloomies then. Well, it's like, you know, I can't like we already know that because like I've even said before, like if I had the chance to go back, I probably wouldn't have reviewed Life is Strange 2 in the industry. I think that was a bad move for me because I became such a big fan of Life is Strange 1. It's like you should move me away and move someone else onto the reviews because it's like
because again, your journalist mindset is you have to be unbiased.
Yeah, it's you massively feel that. Sometimes I sit there with talking to people in interviews, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I really want to paint you negative. And it's like, that's when the emotions start flipping because you're like, oh, you really want to make someone look good and you don't really want to challenge their things and you don't want to say anything bad and you kind of like think about things. It's like when we had which one is it? Is it the Stefan Frost interview we did for The Expanse? And you talked to him about the criticism of the game, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm like, he's gone there. He has gone there, and I was like, even I didn't do that because I was like, I really want to just talk to him. Because
again, like with you like unbiased, you like to stay the road, whereas I'm coming from Philly, and I'm just like, listen, dog, let's talk about this, okay? It's like, it's just a different mindset, which is why the show works. Because you're coming from a journalistic mindset, and I'm coming from a malicious mindset.
Yeah.
Like I'm coming off of I don't have any biased or unbiased. I'm just Adam. Like, you know. But yeah, no, that's the thing. It's like that's the kind of mindset that makes like the world cooperate, is having different mindsets, you know. But that's to defend like Adnan on that. There's no defense for me. I am going to prison pretty soon.
I'll visit.
But yeah, no, like
maybe once a year.
Maybe once.
But like expensive flight, man.
I was gonna say, like, you have messaged me like private, like, oh, do I come off really defensive because you don't want to come across that? And again, this is just me knowing you, and I'm like, no, this is just you're a journalist, and like that's it. Like you're a journalist. That's the mindset. You're also a worrywart, you know, and that's coming from me. It's like that's not saying much. But yeah, no, that's all to say is like, no, it's like, I think listeners, if they're fans of this show, need to know that that's just your mindset. It's just, you have an investigative mindset. You need not 90% of the information. You need 110% of that information, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas for me,
definitive.
I am a cave person. You give me 10%, I'm like, let's go, burn it down.
It has to be definitive. Like that's the thing. Like it was a very hard episode to do because it's like I was kind of like thinking about when we do it and record it because like I knew that when we were doing it, I was like my position already isn't what the mainstream is doing, which is like if you went on Twitter and you saw Reddit and you saw people's reactions, it was complete opposite. Then when you came on. And I was like, what's he going to say here? And I'm like, what is he actually going to think? Because we like only briefly talked about it here and there. And then when you like pulled the toe in the line, I was like, I'm like, oh, where's he going with this? Because it's interesting to see where he's going to go. But it's just that because it's like, as I said, for me, it's like built on proof and everything else. Like even for example, like when Rebecca Valentine talks about the Nazi imagery, people then like, have you seen images of it? Like to the report when they're like, have you seen images of these? Have you seen like Slack chat? Messages and like screenshots, because obviously like some of the things that journalists will do, for example, might be to embed some of these things into their articles because it adds even more weight, because if you can see visual images, it's definitely happened again then. But otherwise it'll go back to allegations again, not saying that it didn't happen. It's just again that the piece is built on allegations. That's my main position to you. So for example, if anyone keeps wondering why Deck 9 or Square Enix hasn't refuted any of these claims or said anything beyond the comment they gave to the piece, anything else adds substantial weight to basically these allegations are true. If anything as well, and I hope that this happens as well, if we get the next reveal of a Life is Strange game or whatever else in between it, I hope that these journalists in the gaming industry decide to sit down with these people and ask them about it during an interview. So for example, if they get time with the Deck 9 developers or even the Square Enix London people or whatever else, that they ask for this. And as well, if the developer and publisher doesn't want to do comment with these, then they should just pull the interviews. That is journalistic mindset, if anything.
I was about to say, that's a good transition to our main topic, if we want
Yes.
to go straight into that.
Fair play. Fair play. Yes, we can go into that. So the main topic was essentially kind of like a continuation of the subtopic, but then also kind of like what we spoke about in the last episode before, like we started to kind of like collapse through ill health and stuff, which was like kind of like it's just like my main topic was like, is Life is Strange forever tainted from the allegations, and then is should the title be pushed back and delayed? Because I'll be honestly truthful with you, Adam. I'll be truthful with the listeners as well. It's gonna be very candid. I don't think I've been excited for Life is Strange for a while now. And I'm being deadly serious with that. I don't think I've been excited for a while, personally speaking. I like doing the podcast. I like talking about Life is Strange. I like reveling in the nostalgia of things, yeah. And even with True Colors, I felt like I can still keep a tune with this series. At this point, I'm really not sure how I feel about the series. I feel like the allegations will live a short memory in people because people have very short memories. So I think like they'll be swept under.
Let's put it this way. Does anybody remember the BioWare article that Jason Schreier put out? Did anybody want to like talk about that? No. Like that's the thing. Does everybody remember? Like we're all excited for GTA 6. Does anybody remember the Rockstar article came out about Red Dead Redemption 2 and how they had to work 100-hour work weeks and the crunch? No. Does anybody remember a Gearbox where the bonuses were taken away from Borderlands 3? No, we're all excited about Borderlands 4 and that's in development, and Borderlands was Gearbox was acquired by 2K. We're all gonna be excited about that. And that's what I mean. It's just kind of like we're gonna see this article, and then the next, as Life is Strange fans, we're gonna be like, oh my god, the next Life is Strange. I'm like, it's weird, man. This is also why I haven't been. You said you're not excited about Life is Strange. I used to be so excited for the Spider-Man series across the Spider-Verse and all that.
Oh yeah.
Into the Spider-Verse, until I saw that animators were heavily like abused in the workplace. Like it was not a good situation. In fact, I haven't like really been excited for it because the next one. So after Across the Spider-Verse, right? We get that teaser at the end saying like to be continued, and there's like a lot of articles that it should have actually come out. The next movie should have come out last month in March. It should have come out, but as they put out that teaser, not a single animation was drawn, and they expected to make that whole movie to end the trilogy in just less than a year, I think. So it's just kind of like, it's one of those things where I see what you're saying with like Life is Strange. That's how I see with Spider-Man. I'm like, I don't feel right supporting this. Like, I don't want to drive animators into a hole just for my goofy little brain. I'm like, oh, cartoon Spider-Man. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Like, in same with you. You don't want these good developers, you know, being tortured in a workplace, you know, in a department, essentially. You know, maybe that they're poets and tortured in a department within Square Enix.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
Look, I feel like a lot better about myself, if anything, the fact that I don't accept free gifts, for example, from these companies like on the channel. So it's like I've seen other YouTubers jump up and down, being like, you know, about allegations and stuff, then happily accept free incentives and, you know, that stuff from Square Enix. It's like, are you going to send that stuff back? Are you going to send the Chen jacket back? You know, if you're that, like, you know, mortified by what you've seen, I think like it raises questions about her. Like for me, like I feel like differently about about the actual series mix. It's like I just don't know where you go from here. Cause it's like this has now marred everything. And I said to you as well, I hope that journalists, for example, if they sit in a room with these people from like, especially from Square Enix's PR team, I'd love someone to be in the room with the actual developers and to challenge some of these questions as well. Because again, like they are basically holding a silent line at this point, because it's like until they can, you know, sweep the allegations under the rug, or it's like if you say anything publicly, you accept that these have happened. I would like someone to actually, as a journalist in the video game industry, if they get time offered with these people, and we won't, unfortunately, because you know that we're not going to get anything ever again. But like, not that we ever had anything as well, just for transparency's sake. It's like you challenge these people on these questions, And even if it's not part of the PR scripted questions where they ask you for them, because you see that in journalism as well. It's like, oh, can we have a look at the questions beforehand? It always happens in between it. That they ask about these allegations, because like these need to be addressed with things. Because it's like, yeah, because like for me, Adam, as well, because I feel like I might be bringing Dimmy down on people. Like when people are like, yeah, we might see Max back. I'm like, that would have been nice 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Or like 7 years ago or 6 years ago. It's because you've taken the series in so many different directions. So even when it felt like last game with True Colors, I was like, you've taken so many Life is Strange 1 vibes here, and I don't necessarily like it, but at least at the same time, you've given Deck 9 this entire universe that they can create their own characters and put them in the game. And what the next outing is that we go into a Life is Strange game with Max Caulfield as the main protagonist. Again, potentially, if we're taking the leap, for example. What has happened there? It's like you basically, and then you're giving Don't Nod's characters to Deck 9, and Deck 9 already gets a bad reputation for handling Don't Nod characters. It's not necessarily their established IP and all the characters in between it. Like, what's happening here? It's like, do you actually have any sense of direction? I don't like Square Enix's handling the direction. I don't know if I really like Square Enix as a publisher most times. Like, I like Final Fantasy, but even then, there's still questionable things that happen in between it. And I feel like that with...
I was going to say, I see you have 2 comments on here for comment of the day. And I just want to read the second one to kind of play off of what you're saying and like go off of that comment, if that's okay.
Yeah, okay. We'll leave the other one for the comment of the day then.
Yeah. So Hagler 84 says there's definitely a pattern at Square Enix, which is again what we're saying is like I don't think it's Deck 9 that we're angry at. I think it's Square Enix. On how they treat
angry at Deck 9 for the Nazi symbols.
It's angry at Deck 9 for allowing Square Enix to just like use them as a doormat. On how they treat their current or former non-Japanese IPs. See also Tomb Raider, Hitman, Sleeping Dogs. Dude, I am still bitter about Sleeping Dogs.
I am as well. If you never played Sleeping Dogs, go and play Sleeping Dogs. It is incredible. Everyone has said the same thing about Sleeping Dogs.
Yeah, it's just like it ends on... Anyways, I won't get on that. But Deus Ex, which is another one where it's just like that was just such a like unutilized IP. Also, after reading the article, it again saddens me on how badly treated LAS2 is. After the controversy surrounding the game, Square Enix pretty much has creative control of how the series goes, and Deck 9 leaders just does their bidding for a payoff. I do hope that someday Don't Nod could buy back the IP. I think we're both in that camp. I think me and you are on the same page, and that's we're both not as excited for Life is Strange, and I don't think we'll be excited until Don't Nod buys back the IP. And I'm just gonna lower my camera so it doesn't look like I'm slouching, but it still looks like I'm slouching, so I'm not gonna win. Because I am slouching. It is 7:30 in the morning. I'm going to slouch. But no, it is what Hagler says. It's definitely like a problem both Deck 9 and Square.
Yeah.
It's what I have a problem with in restaurants where they just in restaurants, dude, when the owners come in and they just like walk all over the restaurant and you can tell. If anybody who's listening to this has ever worked in a restaurant, I don't care what kind of if you worked in a restaurant and you hear owners spewing the things, you can tell who knows what they're talking about with food and who is just like talking out of their butt cheeks.
Yeah.
And just like there's a lot of times where they're just talking out of their butt cheeks and I'm like, dude, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And I always fought back. But there's a lot of times in restaurants that it's a lot like the Deck 9 situation. Like, well, whatever you say, boss. Whatever you say. And those managers get a bonus for just saying, whatever you say.
Bootlicking.
And those restaurants never have an identity. They never have an identity. I'm not going to say which restaurants they were because I don't want to get called out. But like they don't have an identity. But the ones that do fight back have that core identity. And that's where Don't Nod is. Don't Nod has a core identity. Deck 9, we don't know their identity. We don't know. We don't know.
we've talked about this so many times on the podcast, especially with like when that Oscar Gilbert interview, and they're asking about the contracts with Square Enix. We always bring it up as well. It's like you can just tell like that they had to deal with like the stuff that they had to deal with, like just like, you know, exchanging contracts, making an IP you don't have control of. Like just in the comment as well, like what you said, Hagula84, and thank you for the comment. There's definitely a pattern Square Enix treats their current and non-format Japanese IPs. Completely agree. Tomb Raider, Hitman, Sleeping Dogs, Deus Ex, great games, all held up by the developers. And then obviously the fiasco that they had with the Embracer Group selling off IPs with Square Enix, very much indicative of Square Enix. Like, this is all you need to know. The Life is Strange 2 treatment, we've always said this as well, like the Forgotten Child. I know stuff about Life is Strange 2, it's just ridiculous the way that they treat that game. It seems like they just didn't accept it because it wasn't as big as Max and Chloe. It's like it was a completely different vision from Don't Nod, and it's like, now we're not having that. Square Enix has creative control over how the series goes. Yeah, pretty much know that. We've seen that in the article, heard things, etc. It's being said there, and Square Enix has refuted certain things, but as you will. Deck 9 leaders are doing what's bidding off it again. The allegations were in there. It was like, Life is Strange being sold off to the lowest bidder. Deck 9 has like had a different history. Like, the entire history of Deck 9 is very interesting in itself. And it's like, in itself, it does feel like they're a bit of like prisoners to Life is Strange, because it feels like they haven't been able to establish. Like, look for example, at like last episode when we talked about it, the vision that Don't Nod has, for example, Oscar Gilbert. It's like we have action RPG that we're going to try and go into, and we have action adventure. They are not putting all their stock value in just like Lost Records, Bloom Rage, or into Juson. They're creating different things because they need different streams that could be successful, and they know this as well because they had this with Vampire, they've had this with Banishes. They want a successful like action RPG where they work with like a focus, for example, and it brings in good investment for the studio. They're a studio which I feel like, for example, they don't bring in a lot of money at the minute, and they don't bring in like loads of profit, but for the next 10 years I could see it being viable. Horrible to say this, in the next 10 years, if you tell me that you think that Deck 9 is going to be a studio, I don't know if it would be. I could see it falling the same way as Telltale did, because it's like you're basically repeating the same trick again and again and again, and it doesn't work. Because even, for example, like Rockstar makes different IPs. It's just not made Grand Theft Auto over the X amount of years. It's bigger. It's a developer part of Take-Two, and Take-Two is a bigger publisher. But Take-Two still has a publishing pipeline of different games. It doesn't just rely on one stream of income. And that's the big thing with Deck 9. So again, agree with that. And then I do hope that Don't Nod could buy back the IP. I wish that as well, but I don't think Don't Nod is going to throw all the money at it as well. I think, for example, like, because like considering what Square Enix might demand for a fee for like the Life is Strange IP, I think that Don't Nod might just be like, no, we won't do it. Because the same with did they go and chase Remember Me? It's like, no. It's like, if they can't afford, like, in itself as well, the faith is shown with Oscar Gilbert and Luke Bargados and Michelle Koba, because they've already given Lost Records a franchise before it's even been released one game. They are probably hoping, I think, that, and when I mean they, like Gilbert and the high uppers, that Lost Records is their Life is Strange equivalent, because they want like a nice umbrella of like a series where you could build games under it. It's a narrative adventure. In itself, the bigger construction of that is building the IP, building the branding, etc. But like, that's where it kind of starts off my conversation when I said it to you, where it's like, I don't know how I feel about Life is Strange, because I'm looking around the corner and like Lost Records is there. And I'm like thinking like, that just seems like, it just seems like more to where I'm kind of like situated with the IP, with the franchise. Like, I said this to you before as well. I think that that's the first challenge Life is Strange has faced in its 9-year period. Like, in the period that I've covered it since 2014, even before its release, up to now, I think that Lost Records Bloom Rage is the first real test of the Life is Strange IP. And not because it's being put in direct competition, not because, Michelle Ko and Luke Bargados and the Don't Nod team want to get back at Square Enix, etc. Nothing like that. It's more about objective viewpoint, where it's like that IP really is like the Pepsi to Coke. And I'm not saying I'm not and by the way, I love Pepsi as well. I don't think I'm demeaning Lost Records as Pepsi, because I love it. Because easily Pepsi can turn into Coke, because then you have to fend off your territory. Because like, for example, Lost Records, I could be like saying that Lost Records is Pepsi. It could actually be Coca-Cola, and it's about to kick Life is Strange off its perch and take that umbrella period of being like, we are the new adventure narrative kind of thing. We all of it. We have like a loyal following of people who like Don't Nod. But it's like, if you like Life is Strange and you don't care who's making it, you should really kind of see our product, because it's going to give you a different taste of things. That's my kind of thing where I'm looking at it, because it's like, you think about what's going to be revealed. We don't know what's going to be revealed from Life is Strange. We don't know what it's going to be. It could be Max. It could be like Alex and Max together. It could be like, Daniel could come back. Like, God only knows what they could like pull out of this. We don't actually know what's going to happen with Life is Strange. Like,
You know
the
what's
IP,
funny?
the reveal. Please.
When you were saying that, it's like, oh, it is going to be the Pepsi to Coke situation. Think about when Life is Strange first started, right? Like Life is Strange the episodic. This was happening back in the time where Telltale was a little bit rocky, right, with episodes, and so Life is Strange the IP came out, and they're just like, well, if you don't like what Telltale's doing, check out Life is Strange. And now the same creators of Life is Strange, like, well, if you don't like what Life is Strange doing, you know, how we made it, how we were supposed to, try out our series. So it's kind of like this cyclical thing that it seems like Michelle and Luke understand what episodic games should look like. And we don't even know if Lost Records is going to be episodic.
Indeed.
We don't know that. We could tell, like, what Luke and Michelle understand is understanding what the industry is and what the industry needs, and they will put that they will put themselves out there and just say, well, this is what we have and this is what the industry needs. And so they're going to say, like, well, if you don't like, they're not going to come out and say this, but if you don't like what Square is doing with our IP, come check out our new IP. In the same way they did Telltale. They didn't come out and say that, but everybody knew that, like, episodic games are dying. No, they're not. Check out Life is Strange, you know? So it's funny that you say that like we're going back in the cycle of what Michelle did in the beginning, and now we're doing it again, but with our own IP, you know?
No, I completely agree with you. It's just like, do you when you like have like two stalls and you're like, you know, and you like see those little cartoons where it's like two lemonade stands and like one just ups the game a little bit. It's variety now being offered. And that's when my intrigue is like peaked a little bit, especially with like Life is Strange or Lost Records. I'm sitting there like, we're gonna see something. It's like now truly at this point, I'm believing this and just my thesis. It's like this is like Life is Strange's last roll of the dice, really. Because it's like you really, really need to like appeal to people. Like you'd be like, we are like the definitive like series. This is why you fell in love with everything. Square Enix is like your home. You should keep on top of us. Blah blah. It's like do or die time for me at this point. Like just seeing it in that perspective, because I think like how much steam is left in this series. Like you, for example, you love Halo. Where has Halo gone? I love Gears of War. Where has Gears of War gone over that period of time? Like things just really struggle.
I think about that. I think about going back to Halo Infinite just because like oh man, I didn't give it a shot, but just thinking about it, I'm like, yeah. And I even played Gears 5. Gears 5 looked amazing. It looked incredible. It sounded incredible. The story was just dry. The combat was dry. I was just like, this is so.
The soul of the series is gone. And it's ironic as well, because like even with that series as well, Cliff Bleszinski's always like, if Microsoft want me as a consultant and my door's open, and they've never taken. I'm like, that's like, for example, if it was like Michelle Coe like had tweeted a million times on Twitter, my consultancy is open for like Life is Strange, and Square Enix didn't take it. You're like, are you mad? It's like, are you mad? For example, because like the magic is in the original part of the series, like even before some, like 1 or 2 before some. That's where the magic is in those series. And it's like with True Colors, it's like that's like a tipping point for me a little bit. It's like, where do we go with the series? Do we want to keep things going? You know, we're going to change a different direction. And it's like, I'm sitting there a little bit like, I've been with this series for like 9 years now. It's like, am I still as invested as I always was? And I still love talking about it. I still love doing this and doing the podcast. This doesn't mean that I don't like doing the podcast, by the way, before someone like is worried. It's like, we still enjoy the podcast. But then you sit there thinking like, what's next?
That's why we focus a lot of Don't Nod news more than Life is Strange news, which I have yet to still pick up Banishers. I apologize. Things have been things have been kind of crazy on my end. This winter sucks, dude. The past few months have sucked. I just can't get invested in games right now. Yeah, it sucks. But I did play Jusant. And Harmony. I just have to get around.
Speaking of which, Harmony is free. The first part of the demo, I think it's like an hour demo they've released.
Really?
Of Harmony. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, everybody go check out Harmony. Like I really do think that if you're like even a little bit interested in visual novels, I think Harmony is a great game in that genre. And everybody's been saying great things about Banishers. I want to play Banishers. It's just I have not, bro. I haven't had the time. There's an EP
What
that
is
I'm
time
writing,
in your
and I'm just like,
30s? What is
yeah,
time?
dude. I really do need to adjust my timing on things. But yeah, no, like there's a lot of things I'm working on, and I'm just like, damn it, dude. But yeah, no, like that's the thing. It's like I'm excited for Don't Nod more than I am excited for Life is Strange. And it sucks that I have to say that. And to go on the original question of this topic, should the next title be pushed back? Could we see a delay? Is Life is Strange forever tainted? And it's like, bro, it is kind of tainted for me because like after True Colors, it's just kind of like, man, dude, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then after this news comes out, I'm like, oh, dude, no, please. Why? Like, I was talking to my friend about this, that like, it sucks that so many things in our industry are tainted by assholes, dude. I'm currently watching a documentary. I'm on episode 2 out of 4 about we need to talk about Bill Cosby. Bro, I thought the things he was doing, the things he was doing to women was happening during the Cosby Show in the 90s. It was happening since the beginning of his career in the 70s. We're talking about picture pages. We're talking about Fat Albert. Like when he was being an educator to young children. Like, it's insane. So it's like everything in Bill Cosby's career is tainted. Everything is tainted. Even talking about I was talking to my friend about Jeremy Soule, who is the composer behind Skyrim, right? Great mind, genius music writing, but the allegations behind Jeremy Soule, I'm just like, dude, why? It is not that hard to not be an it's not that hard to be an indecent human being. You can be, and that's the thing. I say it's not
You
that
said
hard
the
to be.
A word twice now. That's 2 edits I'm gonna have to make. Continue, please.
Well,
you're in your rhythm. Go for it.
But like that's the thing. It's like I'll say it. I don't care. It's your job.
Oh, cheers. Thank you. That is an example of the article that's going to come out on StrangeCast in a couple of years. I'll tell you that right now. This is what I have to deal with, people.
But that's the thing. It's just like you can be a jerk. You know, like I am a jerk. I am. See, I'm not using the word anymore. So it's like
thank you.
I'm a jerk. Like, and I think we've all heard it when Milk Boy. What was his name?
Not the Milky Bar Kid.
Not
the
the
disrespect here. I don't think they should let you drink anymore either.
I don't know his real name. I just know like there's something milk in his name. But it's like I'm a jerk, and then, like if you didn't know that, like listen to that episode where I'm just like firing off on Milk Bag. I'm a jerk, but I'm not. It's just not that hard to like not be threatening, you know. Like that's the thing. Even at the restaurant, like they know I yell a lot when things are going chaotic. I'm yelling, I'm screaming, like get your crap together, get this together. Why are you not running your food? But they all know that I'm not legitimately threatening them. They just know that I'm just a little whiny baby, you know. And that's what I mean, dude. It's just like it's tainted in a way of just like. Not out of Zach Garris, because I think Zach Garris is just ignorant. I think he just hasn't lived a life that a lot of people have lived. I think Square Enix is the one tainting this series.
Yeah.
I really do believe it's all Square Enix. And just, when we're talking about is the series tainted, it's just in the same way the Spider-Man series is tainted to me. It's just like Life is Strange. It's hard for me to support it because once again, my friend just played through the entirety of the remastered Life is Strange.
Oh,
right?
Yes.
I watched him play it, and I watched all the glitches happening. And bro, when it got to the end, by the way, he chose Pompidou. Let's go, baby. He chose Pompidou.
Ridiculous.
But that final song at the funeral didn't play, and I was like, dude. And so like I played it on my phone. I was like, I pulled it up, boom, and I got, bro. When I tell you I got the timing perfect, I'm not saying I was proud, but your boy was proud. I got that timing perfect, dude. I was like, let's go, dude. But yeah, no, like it didn't play that sound, and there's a lot of things that I was like watching. I was like, man, you're missing out on the actual version. The actual version, like I have the disc, it just wasn't working. I don't know why, it just wasn't. So we just went for the remastered. What the point I'm trying to make is that, like, yeah, man, like Square Enix allowed that remaster to happen. Square Enix is just using it as marketing bait. Square Enix is just using this IP for the worst ways, and I cannot imagine what Michelle Koch is going through. Like, I know Luke is the one producing it, but Michelle is the one that like really.
You're butchering your child, aren't you?
I am butchering.
Watching it from a distance. Like, what can you do?
Yeah, Luke is my son. Let's just put it that way. I'm not his son. He is my son. I'm just kidding. No, Luke, don't come after me, please. He knows I'm allergic to cats, and he'll just send Bao after me. But like, I cannot imagine what Michelle and Raul are like going through right now. I can't imagine, because like, as much as we are fans and it sucks for us, imagine Michelle and Raul, that they just created this thing that's just like, it's a beautiful IP. And it's just,
it is.
Yeah, and it's tainted by the worst company, dude. The absolute worst.
Yeah.
Can't imagine what they're going through. You know?
That's what it's come down to. That's why the conversation started with you, because it's like for me, I think like we're in a currently oversaturated world with so many things. I don't think the quality is anywhere near as good as it used to be, among many other things, etc. But it's like, I lived through like the peak periods of my franchises that I love. Like, so for example, Call of Duty, lived through the peak years, stopped playing it after like the Black Ops games, etc. Same with Gears of War, played the original Blazinski trilogy, played 4 and 5, thought it was awful. It's gone completely off hill. My boy Kojima bang out Konami when he did the first 5 Metal Gear games. It's like, perfect, enjoyed that. After that, I don't really care what happens after it. Same with like a lot of franchises. Same with Life is Strange. I've been at a balancing point for a long period, being like, where do we go from it? And it is like that piece, like it's very enlightening for everything. So it's like, I do place a lot of things on Deck 9. So like, as Adam said, like, you have this massive issue with Square Enix and stuff like that. I do understand the things with Deck 9 as well. Like, as I said to you, I don't taint every developer there with the same brush, because I've spoken to some of them and they're really lovely people. And that doesn't exhibit it. But like, obviously, the Nazi imagery and stuff like that is just ridiculous as it is. In terms of like, having people that can have that kind of behavior there, etc. And then also like, the kind of like the spat differences with like Zach Garris and like Mallory and all these other people. By the way, as well, that's also down to upper management to get those people into a room and be like, well, sort your differences out, because we work in a game studio. We're a respected game studio, and sort your things out, because it's not just about I'm team Mallory and I'm team Zach Garris. It's more about, you get people in the room, what management should do as well. And I speak to someone who has always said this about management as well, is that you get people in the room and you get them to solve their differences and work together, because it is a collaborative environment. People will butt heads, but it's like, you're like, well, we got a studio to work together, we've got a game, sort your differences out, get on the same wavelength and go from there. I'm towing the line there as well.
Yeah,
but it's like, all the allegations that are happening with Deck 9, that's in itself a thing. But I've said this time and time ago, so repeatedly, like, Square Enix, the handling has been atrocious. Like, the IP has just been run into the ground. They're going to keep running into the ground. That's why I have very little faith about the next Life is Strange game. I hope I'm wrong. Maybe I'll revive my entire faith in it. But like how can you, in between like, all this other stuff that's happening? You just basically had like Square Enix's London team being accused of bullying, of like, and causing all this other problem, like, allegations against it. It's like, it's not just Deck 9, but then we said this very early on about the remaster collection. I said to you, it's like, Deck 9 has its own issues, but repeatedly stressed, like, the person that's putting out the product is being published by a publisher. They are at the helm of it. They approved it. And it's like, I saw all the narrative online where people were attacking Deck 9 and stuff like that. Like, you should also be putting equal weight, if not more, on the publisher, because they are the publishing arm of it. They are also equally responsible for it. So it's like, I just don't know how I feel about the series. It's been like a deep reflection period for me, like last 2 weeks since we recorded. Like, just think about what happens to like the series going forward, what happens like StrangeCast as well. Like I'll show you that some of the comments that we had. We had a lovely comment. Someone said like your podcast is my safe place and stuff. It's like you don't understand
Even
like, how
with
much
me
that
on
means.
it, that's your safe place.
I know. Well, they haven't been attached yet. They'll change that tune very quickly. But like in the sense, like when you see comments like that, I'm like it makes me feel like I want to keep doing the podcast and keep supporting people and like talking. So I do like the series. I still like talking about the series, talking about themes, talking about all kinds of things. But you sit there thinking like, where's our going to be our towing line a little bit? And I sometimes sit there thinking like, we did a really great idea starting the Lost Records Journal because like you have another thing you're really looking forward to because like my excitement for that is like at an all-time high at the minute. It's like so highly excited. But with Life is Strange, I'm like sitting there thinking like, when we sit there and if we play this new game and if it's got like Max in it, for example, are you really going to be happy?
Yeah.
Like, are you really going to be happy knowing all the stuff that's happened in it? Can you really be satisfied with that? And I get it as well, like because you can make the argument, be like, well, you wear nightclothes and it's manufactured in China and all those alleged slave labor people that are working and stuff. Again, but you still like when you have a moment of like reflection, you're deeply invested, especially in a medium, a game, a piece of music, a piece of TV, and it's tainted by something. Like it's going to leave a lingering effect. So I think like, let's see what happens. We're gonna have to roll along with it. We know it's in development. Life is Strange game, and we're gonna have to see what happens from it. But it's a big,
Square
big
Enix
aspect.
doesn't care that their image is tainted. They're still going to put it out.
Yeah, well, yeah, they don't really care. I said to you as well, like I firmly buried any opportunity to ever communicate with Square Enix at the last episode, but I did that out of integrity as well. Like you don't understand how quiet I've kept on things because I was hopeful of one day inviting other people on here and trying to get contacts. But in like 2020, I lost my rag with Square Enix. I was like, why are you stopping me from getting some of these developers on here? I'm giving you free. They want to talk about the franchise and games that they're really excited about, and we're giving them a free broadcasting platform. No matter if it's 10 views, 20 views, go on any platform. If you get any exposure, go on it because you can promote yourself. Adam, if someone came up to you and said, I want to interview Castigarden, I have 5 listeners, you would jump at that opportunity.
Yeah,
no matter
definitely.
even if it's 5 listeners, you put your name out there. You do it any opportunity. Same with me. If someone said to me, I've got like 4 listeners on podcast, but I'd love to interview because you do a live stream. I'm like, let's get a time slot done. Let's get something and we'll talk about it. Because it's like, that's like free exposure. That's the worst thing about marketing when I see it from like people who work in marketing. Like any person that's doing it, even if it's like some small YouTuber, get something in there, get something penned in or something, try and work with them, collaborate with them. Like you never know what's going to happen. But it's like, with Square Enix, like it's just they've run that IP into the ground. They've run the IP into the ground. They've run the franchise into the ground. They've run the brand into the ground. It's like God only knows where it can go from here and if it can ever get repaired. Like you saw the way that they were handling the series with Life is Strange too. It's like we just can't accept the fact that it's not Max and Chloe and it's like it's not got the same vibe and it's really experimental and it's really different. Like God only knows what the Don't Nod team were going through when they were pitching that idea and trying to sell it to like Square Enix, because it must have been like, the way that they're acting with it. It's like they never really gave it that much hype behind it. Weird time at the minute. Like I'm like, let's see what happens the next couple of months. Obviously, I imagine we'll probably get a reveal very soon of what this Life is Strange game is, and if it's Aperture, like, well, I think StrangeCast is very much going to come. I can't get behind that idea. It sounds so.
There's
dumb.
no way.
Like I sort of saw other people in the comments saying to us like, Life is Strange 2 sounded wild and the ideas. Fair enough, but that felt like an acceptance point because we were like, oh, maybe the series goes in this direction. It's different. This just sounds so
silly.
So yeah, it sounds like very poor fan fiction.
I was about to say it sounds like fan fiction. Yeah, like it's just not real. Whereas like Life is Strange 2 sounded like a hard pill to swallow. This one sounds like, bro, no.
This is like a tough. Like it's like an impossible pill to swallow. It just doesn't make sense. It makes no sense with the direction the series is going. That's why, and again, it's not because I wouldn't want to see. I love seeing Max. I love Hannah Tell. I love Chloe Price. I love Ashley Birch. But and I know we're coming up to a 10-year anniversary for Life is Strange 1, but again, the question has to be, is like, has too much time passed for Max now? And especially with your old developers going as well, like the ones who created her, gave her, like, it's not just Misha Ko, Adam. It's like Jean-Luc. It's like Christian Devine. It's like Luke Bagadol. It's Raoul Barbet. It's all these people that were part of her legacy. Philip Bark, for example. Is Philip Bark going to do the VO work? We talk about Big Phil all the time. Big Phil was with Luke and Marin and like, they were like, I think it was an NFL game or something. Or was it an NFL game? It was like an ice hockey game or something. There was a picture on Twitter.
NHL?
NHL, that's the one. I cover sports as well. NHL there are. But it's like, Big Phil is like a massive part of that legacy of Life is Strange.
Mm-hmm.
He did all the VO work on the 1, 2, and Before the Storm. He's like, and can you get that same magic?
Yeah,
Don't know, man. Anyway, should we call it wrap on that?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, so let us know in the comments where you stand on Life is Strange. Again, this is kind of like, do you think it's forever tainted? I think it's very hard to kind of like swallow things going forward from that. Adam, comment of the day.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going into our comment of the day, which is from Mind Your Own Business.
Yeah.
There you go. That's quite the comment, quite the username. But they put this from the last video. This justifies my dislike for Square Enix. I knew there was something off about the company, especially after the allegedly attempting to write Max as a male. I believe that was a lot of studios as well. Just to put in context, I believe that when they were pitching that,
That was
they were trying
that
to
was
struggle to sell.
also pretty much every studio, like Ubisoft,
Yeah.
including like they said, like
To writing out a trans character and bizarrely hostile to queer representation, Square Enix clearly doesn't take the series seriously. This somewhat reinforces my theory on how Tell Me Why was more likely rejected as a Life is Strange entry by Square, judging by how it treated Izzy's character in True Color and the general transphobia among the companies alleged. I should just put in there just for what we read in the articles. Also, Garrus is a weird individual, again alleged. This is an allegation. I need to do this for legal reasons. And the idea of Nazi symbols in the game alleged again in horrendous thing to think about. I wanted a new Life is Strange entry, but this is definitely not the way I wanted to find out about it. On a side note, in all in capitals as well, I really enjoyed the Lost Records Journal and had give it 5 stars. Literally waited until 2 a.m. for the premiere. Mind your own business. That made our day at the end of the comment. Thank you very much for that. That was very lovely. And it's really great to see that. I'm glad that you're enjoying the Lost Records Journal. Yes, I think your comment encompasses a lot of things that we said. And again, just to reiterate, these are allegations against Square Enix and Deck 9. And Deck 9 has responded to the allegations in the IGN article, which you can go and read just to clarify that. Again, I'm just doing this for a position of like legal reasons. We are a platform as well. So that are allegations. But yeah, again, a lot of comments saying this as well. We saw it with like, even the trans visibility post that Deck 9 had posted like on their Twitter feed last before the allegations came out. It was like a heart. They didn't even put Izzy. It's like, yeah, but there's no real actual, there's like imagery of Izzy. She's not actually in the game, yeah. It's a very hard one, and I think this is why the Tainted thing came up as well when we were talking about it. It's like, you ain't getting GLAAD nominations for the next Life is Strange game. I'll tell you that right now. I don't see them ever giving you anywhere near ounce of thingy. The Tell Me Why comment is very interesting though. Why they think that Life is Strange might is a rejected idea from like Square Enix for Life is Strange, which I'm not too sure how I feel about that, because I feel like Tell Me Why does feel like it's treated a bit differently the way they present the package.
Yeah, I would say like in terms of a stretch, it's like a light stretch.
Yeah,
like that's like that could be still a stretch, but it's like not like a Yoda amount of stretch. Yeah. But that's what I mean. That could be a case that it was a Life is Strange entry, because it did feel Life is Strange. It did have that feeling, but I think that's because it's coming out of Don't Nod. It wasn't even like the same team.
Nope. Different team, different people in that.
Yeah, it was different team, different people. I don't think Don't Nod would have given the IP to another team. I think they would have stuck with Michelle on that one. But that's just like my theory. But it could be a theory, yeah. Like it was probably like a rejected Life is Strange IP, and then Square Enix rejected it, so Don't Nod just like put the work to another team. Altered it, put it to another team. It could be, but I think that's like a light stretch,
Yeah, it's an interesting theory though, nonetheless, because it does like it's a different team that was based in Paris that did that game. But then even like, it was like released episodically over like X week windows, like very short windows, and it was published by Microsoft. Mm-hmm. And you could easily see like you could take things and just change them if need be, just because like you can't like it's not got the same Life is Strange vibe. But everyone immediately pulled Life is Strange comparisons among many other things. So yeah, it's an interesting theory though, nonetheless. It doesn't, and again, that was one that was built on, as we talked about, the first leading trans character protagonist, wasn't it? And it was like, that in itself, we talked about it before, me and you, where we're like, that game probably wouldn't have seen the light had Microsoft not bankrolled it, for example. It's like that was a Microsoft published game, and most developers aren't going to touch that because it's got a trans character in it, because like they can't sell it in certain markets. And I said it again with Izzy. True Colors, like, look how easy you can cut Izzy out of that game.
Yeah,
it's like, I'd love to see if anyone's a worldwide listener from a different country, please actually let us know what you think about True Colors. It'd be interesting.
I'm
to see
from a different country,
actually. Well, one that's not in the Western Hemisphere, where
gotcha.
that one.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, it's an interesting position, that. But thank you for the comment as well, and thank you for waiting for the podcast premiere. Really, really loved hearing that. And again, as well, Lost Records Journal 2 episodes in now, so you can go and check those out on podcast services. Yes. And fingers crossed, Pennsylvania. For location.
It better be at this point.
Fingers crossed. Adam, spread the arts. Where are we going? You want to go first? You want me to go first?
I'll let you go first on this one.
What have I done? I watched Taken
for the first time.
Yes, yeah, I've heard of the memes. Yeah, I never really got around to watching it, to be honest.
Wow. Okay.
I don't really know how I feel about it. It's like, it's just weird. Liam Neeson of all people. No, it hasn't. Like, the only thing I can really remember Liam Neeson for is, like, obviously one of my favorite performances of all time, like Schindler's List, and also in Batman as well. Great Ra's al Ghul. And also in Ted as well, when he brings the cereal box, puts it in front of Ted.
And in Star Wars.
And in Star Wars as well. Qui-Gon Jinn, my boy George Lucas, bringing those blessings for us all. Yeah, it's just a bit weird. It kind of like strikes me as like, a bit of a poor version of the Bourne Ultimatum, the Bourne films with Matt Damon. It's like, I'm like, it's just, do you know when you have like those like films that came out in that period where it's like Jack Reacher and like these kind of like action thriller like spy things with certain people, like, unless it's Denzel Washington and he's like some spy agent, or like someone like in that vein, I ain't buying it. Like, I don't buy Liam Neeson as this like cool, composed secret agent kind of. He's great in other roles, as you said, like Qui-Gon. Could see him in that. I could see him as Oscar Schindler in Schindler's List. See him in all those roles. But this one I couldn't take seriously. It's because Liam Neeson. It's like, do you remember there's a phone call as well? And obviously we know the phone call from the meme and stuff. But it's like, I would laugh if I wasn't I would just laugh. I'd be like,
who are you, dude?
Yeah, it's like, come on, dude. Like, come on, you ain't doing anything here, man. But yeah, I wasn't overly like blown away by it in any stretch of imagination. I don't know why I watched it either. It came to my mind, was like, I watched Taken.
It's one of those movies that like you have to watch because it is a cultural icon.
Maybe it's that.
I would recommend, if you haven't seen it, a movie that has Liam Neeson and it's much more believable role for him. Have you seen The Grey?
I haven't seen The Grey.
I recommend you watch that, because that's much more of a believable role for Liam Neeson, and it's a very well done movie. I'm not sure if it ages well.
Details.
Yeah, but like, I would recommend you watch that, The Grey.
Yeah, it was an interesting film though, nonetheless. It's like that, and I just finished watching Final Fantasy VII Advent Children for the first time this morning.
Yeah,
so I'm obviously fully on the board of like Rebirth and everything else. So I had to watch that. It's very weird watching that.
The neurodivergency coming through is just like you play a minute of one thing, and you're obsessed for like months until the next thing happens.
I'm obsessed. I'm like genuinely like wondering how my life exists for the next 4 years without getting that next game. Like I'm literally sitting there with that. I'm like, I need, if I pop it before that, I'm gonna be so angry. It's like, I need to see how this game ends with that. And like, generally it's a neurodivergent board. I'd have like Final Fantasy on it here, like all the things. Yeah. And then like 8 months later, I'll flip it around and have Lost Records on that. It's like,
bro, people don't understand the neurodivergency. Like they say to me all the time, like, how do you have so much passion for so many things? I'm like, neurodivergency.
Yeah. And you haven't seen the full extent of it. That's when it gets freaky. Like, you haven't seen all of it yet. It's like when it comes
Liz
out,
has seen it. My wife has seen all of it. There's like, wow, he's so passionate. And Liz is like, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's me for the time being. How about you? Where are you up to? If you say the Torture Poets department, I'm going to scream.
No, I did listen to it. I'll just leave it on there. No, talking about movies that we should have seen and we haven't. For the first time ever, I watched the movie Juno.
Oh, with Elliot Page.
Yes, with Elliot Page. Yes, and Michael Cera and Rainn Wilson for like a second, for like a little bit. Yeah, I've never seen Juno. It's always one of those movies like I just haven't gone around to seeing. Like my wife has the vinyl soundtrack to it. She has it on DVD. Never watched it. So I watched it and I'm like, you know what? 2007 movies really, really hold up, dude. Like anything from like the early to mid 2000s, like, bro, those movies hold up. And I'm gonna say Juno, it's a good time. It's got a lot to say. Like it's got a good message behind it about like what marriage is, what relationships are, where children should end up. Like it's kind of like one of those things, like what is parenthood? It has a lot to say in just an hour and a half. So I would say it's very condensed, it's very well written, it's very well thought out. But yeah, watch it for the first time, man.
That's interesting.
It's on Hulu.
That's the Elliot Page film as well.
Yes.
That's the one that like Elliot Page is like, I think when people talk about him, it's like the first one people really go to. It's like Elliot Page is like, I mean,
Juno,
I would like to think that's the one that put him on the map. I know that you had Kick-Ass and you had like other things happen, X-Men and all the other things.
Yes.
Well, I think like that was the film where it was like
I forgot he was an X-Men.
He was Kitty Pryde.
Oh,
Pryde? Is she called Kitty Pryde or Kitty Pryce?
Kitty Pryde. Duh, I'm so stupid. I haven't seen the X-Men movies in decades.
Oh, Days of Future Past.
I know. I binged it and I'm like, oh, X-Men. Not decades. I shouldn't say that, but like almost a decade. I've seen an X-Men film.
Those films are so good. Especially the first two X-Men's were great.
I forgot he was in X-Men. My God.
Because they have that entire, like, you can watch the extended cut of the Days of Future Past because they have the entire scene with Rogue, the Rogue cut as they call it as well. But yeah, Elliot Page was in, what was it called? X-Men. Didn't have a good experience in the third one on Last Stand with Brett Ratner, who essentially tried to out Elliot Page.
Fun.
Yeah, it's a big fiasco of that behind the scenes. I think like when Brett Ratner was in the news because of all the stuff that happened, I think Elliot Page suggested that Brett Ratner tried to like out his sexuality at the time. But no, I really do like Elliot Page. Beyond Two Souls, I love that game.
Oh God, yeah.
I love him in that game. I think that's a really underrated banger of a game. I think it was high expectations on Quantic Dream because of Heavy Rain and what had come out from that. But I think like the soundtrack is seminal. Hans Zimmer and Lorne Balfe, and then also like the actual story is really great. I love Jodie Holmes' story in that. Great game. And my boy as well, Willem Dafoe.
Yes,
love him in that as well.
That
great.
Game.
Yeah,
but...
great.
Oh no, go for it.
No, you go for it.
Oh yeah, no, I was just saying, I was like, yeah, but watching that for the first time, which I should have, bro, Juno, I watched it on Hulu. We have the DVD, but like we were all on Hulu, we were browsing. I was like, I've never seen that, and Liz goes like, "What?" And then I just immediately click play. So, yeah, I liked it.
Juno's one of the films I think like doesn't have a lot of replay value. It's just the one film you need to watch, just because it's like it's in like the zeitgeist, it's in the conversation with like, especially with Elliot Page. It's like you talk about Elliot Page, you know Juno because it's like it's the big work that he worked on. So, but no. Glad that you watched that.
Yeah,
he's very interesting actor, Elliot Page.
Yeah,
he's very interesting.
Very underrated, incredibly underrated.
I felt like he could have had like one or two bigger roles or something like in his time. It just never felt like it happened, probably for different reasons.
But he's still very successful, like as a great legacy. So I still have to read his book.
Is it new?
It's newer. I think it came out last year.
Right.
I just haven't gotten around to reading it. So, actually, well, hold on before we say it. Let's see if on Spotify it has the audiobooks. So let's see if it's included in my audiobooks. What the heck? I have the
Odium.
What is it called? I just got the German version of it. Wait, what the heck? Sorry.
Audible.
Yeah, well, on Spotify, yeah. Okay. Now we have the book. The book is called Page Boy. Duh. Okay, Page Boy. I knew it was like a simple name. Page Boy it is not included. Excuse me? Wait. Program was started by the author. Yeah. Oh, it's so stupid. Page Boy is not included in my Spotify audiobooks. So,
Hello,
this
Daniel Elk. You're doing it there.
he is. Do I consider this a hate crime? I can't say anything for legal allegations, but why is this one not included on my audio? Can we? I think we should end the show here before I go to court.
I do as well. Yeah, this is on Spotify as well. Go down there.
Oh no,
Daniel. Yeah, get him on here. Let him talk Life is Strange with us. But yeah, we'll wrap up there because we've had a great episode. So thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed it. If you are new here again as well, one more time as well, please do drop a subscription on the YouTube channel. Like the video, share with your friends. Helps support the channel, helps keep up to date with it. And again, you'll probably make me happy having saying that as well. It kills my soul every time. Yeah, StrangeCast is also available on all podcast services. We're available on Spotify with the video version, available on Apple Podcasts, everything we're available on that. So do go and check us out and do rate us and do subscribe as well. It's very good for us as well. Let us know in the comments what you think. Is Life is Strange tainted in your eyes? Do you have any hope? Yes. Give us something, please. We'll read out the best comments on the next episode as well, as always. But yeah, hope you enjoyed that. This is the last episode of April. We'll be back in May for all the delightful stuff, not only just StrangeCast, but also the Lost Records channel, which again, you can go and check out.
Yes.
Until then, guys, take care. See you later. Bye.
Peace.
Ready for the mosh pit, Shaka Bra.